Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Build Podcast. And in this episode, we'll be talking about HTML5 Boilerplate, which I believe is a rock-solid starter kit or a template for any front-end development using HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. Basically, it contains a bunch of files and images that comes as a basis of any starting project. So if we go to the website html5boilerplate.com, we will have 3 ways of downloading the codes. The very first option should be the one that we should be looking at if we want to understand the code better and the reasons behind it. It has a lot of hints and links. The second one is the option that we should be using in order to author codes and ultimately push it to the production. And it has no comments and reduced spaces. The third option offers checkboxes, and that can be used if we do not want to download certain files or we want to leave out some of them. So we will start with the second option, and we will just click on it to download the entire folder. Now for this episode, we will be using the previous episode's project, that was the resistor color codes table, and we will be integrating HTML5 boilerplate with this. And let's see how to do that. So I have already downloaded it. Let's go to the download folder, and I will unzip it. Alright, so after I unzip it, I will look at this file in my Sublime Text editor. Let's see what's inside. So as you can see, it already comes with a bunch of files. It contains a folder, CSS with style.css, images, and JavaScript. And then we have about 5 PNG files. These are the Apple Touch icons that is used for either our iPhone or even Android. We also have a cross-domain XML file and favicon.io that can be used to identify the logo or a picture for the website. This is something fun, humans.txt. So we can write some information about the engineers or the programmers behind the team. This is a fun project done by humanstxt.org, some developers from Spain. And I think this is quite fun. And of course, there is robots.txt for search engines. And readme.md will typically not be used to push to our web server, but it might contain some information about our project. So let's see how we can use this in our previous registers project. So firstly, let me do it one by one. There is also 404.html page, which I'm going to drag it right here into my resistors project. There is definitely the htaccess file. I will also use it. There are the 5 Apple Touch icons and the favicon, which I will definitely use it. The cross-domain XML and human.txt can be used as it is. And lastly, there is robots.txt. Okay, great. So let's look at our website, how it looks. Obviously, there is no such change. Now, I have pushed the project to the web server as it is, and yep, there is no such visible change as of now. So now we will go ahead and we will manipulate the index.html. So let's look at how index.html looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the registers project in the text editor as well. And let's open up the index.html. And in the HTML5 boilerplate, this is the index.html. So how do we integrate it? So we'll take it section by section. So first we will start with the Doctype to the head. This is a very useful bunch of codes. if we want to identify with IE 7 or 8, we just add a bunch of classes to it, and later on in the CSS we can define these classes and style based on which browser it is. Let's go on to the head portion. So this is the head portion. Let me just copy and paste it here. Okay, so I will paste it before here and then compare it. Okay, I don't need this. Head, the charset UTF-8 is still here. The title, I'll probably replace the title with this one. Description, content, viewport. This is something that will allow us to view the website in a better way for mobile or other screen sizes. And there is, of course, the link to the style sheet. I will just put it here so that my relative URL to the style sheet is pretty cool. This is a modernizer file, JavaScript file, that can be used to detect for certain styles, and if the older browsers cannot display it, we can once again use CSS to manipulate it. So I'm gonna delete away my older head tag. So this is basically the Doctype and the head portion of it. Let's go back to HTML5 boilerplate. So now we see the body tag starting, and from here we will see this little script that will be called. I like to keep this script in all my personal projects, because what it does is it tells you that if you are IE 7 or below, they will kind of prompt you to download a latest browser, which is Chrome in this case. And then we have a header class and footer tags. And next one, we have jQuery. I kind of like this little snippet as well, because it tells you that use the Google CDN to call for the jQuery, and if it is not available, call from your own directory. So this is pretty useful. And of course, then we have plugins.js, which is used for third-party JavaScript files that we might download. So all these files can be put into one single file, plugins.js, and script.js is something that we will be writing to manipulate and interact with the library files. So for our Resistance project, we will not be using any JavaScript files, so I will definitely not copy this. So once again, HTML5 boilerplate, we have to be careful about not using everything about it, but understand the code and use sections of it. The last part is Google Analytics. I will definitely copy this, and I will put it right at the end before the body tag ends. And this is a useful one, so just replace the XXX values with the ones that we get from the Google Analytics. Now usually Google Analytics is suggested to place at the top, but in this case I also like it at the bottom, because I would like the analytics to mark that the page has been viewed or hit after the entire page has been loaded. So I put it at the bottom. So that is my index.html. So after I come back here, obviously there is no visible difference as of yet. So now let's go to the fun part, which is the CSS. Now the original CSS is very small. It consists of no resets, no base styling, the HTML5 boilerplate CSS. So as you can see, there are loads of resets and base styles that has been put. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy all this. These are all really good base and resets, and I would highly encourage all of us to go and read at the documented version so that we understand why it's so. And there's a little gap here, because we should be writing our own CSS within this gap, so that we have the base styles first, and then we write our styles, and then at the end we have some media queries and some classes that will support our CSS. And at the end we have the print style. So let's go and copy all this, And what I'll do is I'll go to my style.css after the authored style sheet for this particular project, then I'll paste it in. Okay, so now let's see what happens. So look carefully at the color highlights as well as the fonts, and I'm going to press refresh. Looks like HTML5 boilerplate has been integrated, and funnily the very first thing that we can do to detect it is through a pink highlight here. And this is also part of the code that I like very much. That is, let me see, where is, here is it, more selection and selection. This is the part that does the pink highlight, and usually I'll change it to something to suit the current design and the color scheme of the website. So that's how you integrate HTML5 boilerplate. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my server. Let me refresh it. And this time I will put in the entire load-up file into the server. So while it's loading, let's look at how the website looks. This is how now it looks with HTML5 boilerplate. If you notice, if I press in something gibberish here, say like that, and go, it will give me the HTML5 boilerplate's 404 page not found. Pretty cool. The other thing that we can do is, I'm just going to delete this away. The other pretty cool thing is, let's say we come here and we want to add to home screen. Watch what happens. Do you see that now they are actually taking the Apple Touch icon, and once you do that, it will actually add this to the home screen. So all we have to do is replace the Apple Touch icon PNG image files with the appropriate logo, and your website can have a beautiful Apple Touch icon like logo on the iPhone or any mobile phone. The other thing is, notice that there is already a favicon here that also takes in from the HTML5 boilerplate. Alright, so that was about HTML5 boilerplate. Let me go through with you some resources that are really useful. First resource will be the Github Repository. I really like this because it gives you the chance to look at the codes from the website and also look at the daily changes that are happening, and the contributors will be coding in different codes and updating this repository. So have a look at this. The next one is a video by Divya Manian, one of the contributors of HTML5 boilerplate. It's only 15 minutes, but she explains a lot of things in the file components of the HTML5 boilerplate. The other one is a walkthrough by Paul Irish, and Paul Irish has another video on HTML5 boilerplate. Then there are also two others. One is called the 20 snippets that we can use from HTML5 boilerplate. This also shows that we don't have to use everything, but we have to pick and choose the parts that we want to use in our project. So this is pretty cool. And lastly, it is pretty similar. It is talking about 7 snippets from CSS that we can borrow. So I would highly encourage you to look at these links and use HTML5 boilerplate and tweak it as we like it. And just by reading the codes itself, I can learn so much. Alright, so that's it for this episode. And finally, as always, I like to show you an inspiring build link of the episode, and this time it is it is a video by Brett Victor called Inventing on Principle. I truly believe that this is a very beautiful video. Oh God, come on. This time it is a video by Brett Victor, and it is called Inventing on Principle. And I was really inspired by this video. It's about an hour, but Brett Victor goes on to talk about this binding principle that every creator or builder should abide by. And for him, it is the principle of being able to see his creation immediately after he creates it. And he shows us some fascinating tools about programming and creating some animations. So have a look at it and be inspired. And what else? So you can go to the Build Podcast, w-podcast.com website, and you can leave comments or feedbacks. And that's about it. Thank you. This time it is a video by Brett Victor called Inventing on Principle. I was really inspired by this video because he talks about how every creator or builder must abide by a principle that he created himself. And for Brett himself, the principle is to be able to see immediately his creation. And then he, of course, goes on to show the tools he created to do that. There are some fascinating tools for programming and animation that he demoed, and I would highly encourage you to watch this video, which is about an hour, but definitely very worth it. And finally, you can go and visit build-podcast.com, and I would love to hear your feedback and comments, and drop by. Thank you so much, and see you next week.